And we are back, and this time, for the second half of the program, we'll be meeting Rebecca Allen and Victor Acevedo, and they are here with us to show, well, let's talk about your moving piece that we're going to be seeing in just a minute. Just set that up for us, Rebecca.
Okay, this piece, it's a videotape. It combines computer animation and live action images, and I'm really concerned about the art of motion. So my focus is on the movement. At first, I'm playing with the interaction between two people through their body movements, and then a character leaves the real world and enters into a more private dream world.
So are the people, the figures that we see, are they real people? Everybody's going to say, is that a real person, or what is that?
Simulation.
The simulation, right.
Though I've worked a lot with simulated human models. In this case, they are actually real people. What I wanted to do is focus on the form of the body, and it seemed just as appropriate to use live action in costume than to use a computer model.
And they are surrounded by a computer-generated environment.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
What you'll see, I'm playing both with the computer animation is an abstract representation of the movement between the two people. It's almost like a vision of the negative space as these two people are interacting, and then it superimposes into the real people, and you replay their interaction as a positive form.
Okay, can we run that? And this is quite a piece to see. Check it out.
Auxilium
fabulous. Just fabulous. So evocative. So powerful, really. Very moody and neat.
Well, I'm trying to use new technology to really give us new reflections of ourselves. And, you know, my interest is really working on, as I mentioned before, focusing on motion as an art form and using that fourth dimension of time and space to give us some new images and to really maybe even come up with a new visual language that isn't just dependent on words. It relates to gestures as a means of communication.
Well, Victor, your work is referential of motion, I think. You use sort of geodesic forms to. Well, let's take a look at one,
thanks.
and as we're looking, explain it just a little bit.
Yeah, I was really just today sort of got that Rebecca and I really share spontaneously a certain kinship about how we perceive and how we process that perception and how we have these new tools in which we can actually help create a new language having to do with motion. And even working with still images, we're working in a kind of a virtual graphical space, which is a subset of virtual reality domains that has motion. We assemble still images in this kind of animated continuum that is unprecedented. And this is a simple 2D image. Here again, sharing a kinship with Rebecca's interest in these polyhedral domains that sort of circumscribe people and intertransform as people move and they interlock. This is that kind of idea. This is actually a picture of an out-of-body experience, and you have this guy sort of just in contemplative mode in a kitchen, a genre scene dating back to the old Dutch painting that was mentioned earlier, Vermeer. And that was a geodesic spherical domain with great circles, and the technical original definition of geodesics is in fact the great circle. This is another piece, kind of a impressionist thing in a way. And I like to depart from genre scenes, everyday life, but we have the ability to kind of intuit everyday life happening in this sort of very fluid and ephemeral, crystallized matrix of energy patterns that happen within and without us. And a way to
does this have to do with parallel universes? I was reading about you and parallel universes. Originally I used that metaphor, parallel universe, and then I switched to non-parallel to sort of have a nod towards non-Euclidean geometries, spherical geometries, which has the whole thing. Parallel is a Euclidean term which creates parallels, but perceptually and in terms of how energy pathways, things do converge. Things are spherical and they complete. There isn't the parallels never touching railroad tracks forever. There's not that. Energies are spherical and they come back around. Right, I see what you mean. And and that circular imagery is implied in your work as we can see one more time actually.
Okay.
It's right there.
Yeah, this is
there's an Escher feel to this too. Am I wrong?
Escher is certainly one of my major fundamental influences because he predating the availability of computers, he worked in geometrical operations, as we all know, the symmetry operations that operate in the two-dimension. And this is utilizing the analog to that behind...
What is analog? Wait a minute.
Oh.
Don't get too technical on me. You frighten me.
Okay, well, that has... the Escher thing is 2D all-space filling networks, the tessellations. This utilizes 3D all-space filling networks, which are polyhedra that close pack and fill all space. It's like, instead of a checkerboard, it's like cubes that stack and fill a room. But I don't like to use cubes. I like to use spherical polyhedra or polyhedra that implies spheres because...
Right, geodesic dome, for instance, which is just sort of a grid of a circular image. Am I wrong?
Yeah, a geodesic is, based on a sphere and its chord factors instead of using the circumference of a sphere, like actually spheres don't really exist in nature, Bucky would say, but they're approximate spheres. And there's sort of these pulsating domains. And the geodesic is a chord factor implying within a spherical.
Whoa, man. What about virtual reality? In 1 minute, can you tell us about virtual reality?
You want to start? Because you're tapping into that.
Virtual reality is a buzzword lately. A lot of media have focused on that term. And I think it's something that maybe is one next step in computer-generated imagery. It has to do with an observer actually entering a three-dimensional world, and it could be a computer-generated world. I have good and bad feelings about it, and maybe the bad feeling is to be careful that we don't just lose sense of our physical selves. And again, my focus so much is on the human body. I want to explore the physical human body before we just plug directly into our brain, like I think some of the science fiction ideas of virtual reality.
Yeah, brainstorm and stuff like that. Yeah. Well, you know, there's so much to cover in this. There's just it's a world within a world within a world, and you know, reading some of David M's descriptions of how it all works, you follow one path, and then it forks, and you can take one path or another, and each one opens up a whole myriad of ways which the computer can explore, which you can't do in a painting, which is a single static image. So it's remarkable, and the field is obviously ever unfolding. But we have to close right here, so I'm going to say thank you very much for watching. I want to thank Patric Prince, David M., Rebecca Allen, and Victor Acevedo for joining us. Please stay tuned for the next edition of ARTSCENE. We're going to be getting bigger and more interesting and ever more visual. So this is Stephen Jerrom saying thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you next time on ARTSCENE.